In the course of your career, you will definitely have people we call bosses. Some bosses are kind, some bosses are very competent, and some bosses are even worthy of our trust and our confidence. But along the line, you will definitely meet one or two bosses that are very difficult to cope with. How do you handle such a situation? Because I can assure you that so long as you are working, you will obviously come into contact with a boss who is classified as a difficult boss. Welcome to the John Appiah Show. The John Appiah Show is a show that focuses exclusively on personal development and professional development. Our overall vision is to empower you with the information, knowledge, strategies, and practical advice that will help you to become better at what it is that you are doing. If you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, I would ask you to go to YouTube, look for the John Appiah Show, and subscribe to our channel. Once you subscribe to the channel, please tell your friends about it, tell your teammates about it, tell your colleagues about it, tell your bosses about it as well, and have all of them subscribe to the John Appiah Show on YouTube. That is where they are assured of getting information and knowledge that would really help them to become better people at whatever it is that they are doing. We would like to also say a big thank you to our cherished sponsors, Koforidua Clinic, the Elite Consult, the African Chamber for Youth Development, our next guest TV show. We are grateful for your support. Today on the show, we will focus exclusively on matters of how to handle difficult bosses. What do you do when you have a difficult boss? And what do you do if you are the difficult boss? This promises to be very interesting. We'll be back after this break. Welcome to the Elite Consult. The Elite Consult is a human capital development organization that provides capacity building, skills training, and skills enhancement for individuals and businesses. What we seek to do is to bring to the table in-depth knowledge, insights that will help people to become better at whatever it is that they are doing. The A-League Job Search Incubator is an initiative of the A-League Consult and the African Chamber for Youth Development. The incubator provides the platform to bring together job seekers to provide for them training, capacity building, skills enhancement, coaching, and mentoring that will adequately prepare them for the job market. When you are part of the incubator, what you would gain is that after you have received the training and the coaching and the guidance and then all that, it adequately prepares you such that on your own, you are able to identify very good job opportunities and you are able to apply for these jobs on your own. We'll put together a pool of applicants that have undergone this training to become the go-to place that employers can actually come into the incubator to headhunt people to fill vacancies they have in their various businesses or organizations. How do you become part of the incubator? You need to just put together your CV and send an email with the CV attached to info@aleagueconsult.com. There is more to just waking up daily, going to work, and getting paid at the end of the month. Did you know that if you possess the right skills set, mindset, and the right network, you can rise up the corporate ladder into top leadership? Did you know that your progress and promotion is 100% your own responsibility? How do you take your career into your own hands? And how do you rise up the corporate ladder? Well, the answer is for you to be part of the A-League of Young Professionals. The A-League of Young Professionals is a network of highly ambitious and successful young professionals who are determined to become business leaders. Members receive training, capacity building, and direct mentoring from successful industry captains and C-suite executives on practical steps, strategies, and skills to help members make progress and advancement in their careers. The A-League of Young Professionals. Stay connected, be empowered, and rise to the top. Welcome back from the break. And I must also say that we have been enjoying a lot of attention on the Ask John Appiah page, where we've had a number of our viewers send to us their comments and their questions and their experiences. And the interesting thing is that it's not just limited to people who are in Ghana. Remember that once the show is available on YouTube, anybody, anywhere on this planet can have access to it and watch. And we are grateful, especially to our viewers who have sent us messages all the way from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, London, and then New York as well. We are grateful for your support and for your continual commitment to watching the John Appiah Show. So today, I want to zoom straight into action and talk about difficult bosses. What makes a boss difficult? What are the characteristics? What are the things that they do that will show that they are indeed difficult bosses? The first thing I'll draw your attention to is that most of the time, difficult bosses are definitely bent on destroying our self-confidence. What it means is that difficult bosses, in all their dealings, in all their doings, in all their actions, it is focused on destroying your confidence as an employee. Imagine you have a boss who is constantly undermining your capacity, constantly undermining your competence. What it will do to you is that ultimately your sense of self-confidence will be totally shattered. Another thing that sometimes difficult bosses do is that they are verbally abusive. So they are constantly screaming and shouting at you. They are constantly throwing words at you, invectives and insults, all in the name of harassing you and making your life miserable. These are people we call difficult bosses. Another thing they do is that they take undue advantage of your commitment and dedication to your work. The third thing you will notice about difficult bosses are that they take undue advantage of your dedication and your commitment to the work. Let me take this opportunity to explain something. There are bosses who indeed push you to your limit. There are bosses that will encourage you to do the best. There are bosses who will accept nothing but excellence. Those are not difficult bosses. Those are bosses that want the best for you, in the sense that the ultimate reason why they are pushing you to your limit is to help you to become the best at what it is that you do. It is because they've seen so much potential in you and they are willing and ready to help you harness the potential you have in you. Those are good bosses. We don't have issues with them. But the difficult ones are the ones that will take undue advantage of your commitment and dedication to work. Just because he or she knows that you are dedicated to work, will begin to give you unnecessary and undue pressure. Even when you're supposed to close at 5, this person will ensure you go to like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock by just abandoning or by just pouring into your coffees or pouring into your desk or onto your desk a lot of work that is not even necessary or relevant to be done. Those are difficult bosses. Another thing they do is that they have a way of just lowering your morale. You may be very upbeat, wake up from bed, excited about going to work. The moment you enter into the office and you meet or have an encounter with your boss, all of a sudden, the morale, the vim, the confidence you have is deflated totally as a result of a single engagement with a very difficult boss. The other thing too is that because they are not too interested in levels or matters of productivity, ultimately their actions and inactions foster a lot of unproductivity at the workplace. Because you see, very often than not, a lot of the workers are embittered. They are very, very, scared. Some are unduly stressed. And as a result of that, it affects matters of productivity. So it's important to know that if you have a difficult boss, one of the things that will happen to you in your workplace is that your level of productivity comes down, and not only you, but the people you work with as well. And ultimately, the business suffers. The other thing too is that difficult bosses make a lot of unreasonable demand. The person knows very well that to move from your office to, let's say, do a transaction in the bank will take like 40 minutes. But this is a person that would ask you to go and come back in 15 minutes. Just think about it. Unreasonable demands. Everybody has a target of about 1,000, but because he wants to be difficult, he gives you a target of about 1 million. Obviously not the way to go. So another characteristic of very difficult bosses is that they make very unreasonable demands. They know very well that in the course of the working period, from 8 o'clock to, let's say, 5 o'clock, you're able to do a maximum of 3 reports. But this is a boss that will ask you to do 7, 8, or even 9 reports in a day. Obviously, that is a difficult boss. Another thing they do, consciously or unconsciously, is that they aggravate the level of stress at the workplace. I have been in certain work environments that the moment our boss enters, everybody is sitting on tenterhooks. Everybody is stressed because this is a boss that will just unduly make your life unbearable. Obviously, that is a very difficult boss. There are also some of these difficult bosses who do anything to negatively affect your sense of dignity. They will question the way you dress. They will question the way you smell. They will even question some of the things you eat. Just imagine you are sitting by your desk eating, and then it's lunchtime, but a difficult boss will try and question what it is that you are eating. I remember I worked in an international organization, and one of the bosses we had was just so difficult. And you know, we in Ghana, we enjoy our local dishes, our kobe, and then our momoni and all that. So one of my colleagues brought, I think, banku and okra soup and had momoni in it, what we call in our local parlance momoni. So this boss just burst into the office during lunchtime and started shouting, "What is smelling? What is this offensive odor? What is this pungent smell?" Knowing very well that it was lunchtime and people were eating. And obviously, it was the momoni from my friend's okra soup. So what happened? The guy had to wash his hand or just get up from the table and go and find somewhere else to eat. So sometimes difficult bosses will do everything to undermine your dignity, question your dressing, your smell, your haircut, your phone, everything, unnecessary things, just to make sure that your sense of dignity is always on the low when you are around them. And then what they also do is that they engender a lot of mistrust, because sometimes for people to open up, they need to have a very congenial and a very comfortable environment. But difficult bosses will not even give you the opportunity to open up and to be able to share the issues and matters that worry you. So they are always engendering a lot of mistrust. Even if the boss does something good or gives you a compliment, you can't even believe it. You can't even take it in, because you are always suspicious of the move of that particular person. That is a difficult boss. Most of them too are bent on just breaking their promises. They tell you that, look, if you finish this project by 6:30, this is what we'll do for you. You finish the project, you hit your target, you go to the boss, and he will even deny ever saying something like that. Those are difficult bosses. Some also always, all the time, threaten punishment. The least thing you do, they are threatening you. I will sack you. I will sack you from this business. I will fire you. In fact, some of them will attempt firing you, and whilst you are going, they will call you to come back. All because they are just difficult bosses. So these are some of the characteristics that will draw your attention to people that are difficult bosses. In some extreme cases, there are people that will even take advantage of you sexually. Whether your boss is a male or a female, sometimes they can take undue advantage of you and even abuse you sexually. Some also play favoritism at the office, and they make it so obvious and so clear. Some also are in the habit of ensuring that they never appreciate what it is that you do. All these are signs and signals of a difficult boss. Now that you've been able to identify some of these signals and signs, I'm sure you know by now whether your boss is difficult. I don't want to use the term terrible or horrible bosses. I will just keep it as a difficult boss. But now you know whether or not your boss is difficult. And if you happen to be a boss or a leader or a head of a department, the question I ask you is that, are you a difficult boss? We'll be back after this break.
Welcome to the A-League Consult. The A-League Consult is a human capital development organization that provides capacity building, skills training, and skills enhancement for individuals and businesses. What we seek to do is to bring to the table in-depth knowledge, insights that will help people to become better at whatever it is that they are doing.
The A-League Job Search Incubator is an initiative of the A-League Consult and the African Chamber for Youth Development. The incubator provides the platform to bring together job seekers to provide for them training, capacity building, skills enhancement, coaching, and mentoring that will adequately prepare them for the job market. When you are part of the incubator, what you would gain is that after you have received the training and the coaching and the guidance and then all that, it adequately prepares you such that on your own, you are able to identify very good job opportunities and you are able to apply for these jobs on your own. We'll put together a pool of applicants that have undergone this training to become the go-to place that employers can actually come into the incubator to headhunt people to fill vacancies they have in their various businesses or organizations. How do you become part of the incubator? You need to just put together your CV and send an email with the CV attached to info@aleagueconsult.com. There is more to just waking up daily, going to work, and getting paid at the end of the month. Did you know that if you possess the right skills set, mindset, and the right network, you can rise up the corporate ladder into top leadership? Did you know that your progress and promotion is 100% your own responsibility? How do you take your career into your own hands? And how do you rise up the corporate ladder? Well, the answer is for you to be part of the A-League of Young Professionals. The A-League of Young Professionals is a network of highly ambitious and successful young professionals who are determined to become business leaders. Members receive training, capacity building, and direct mentoring from successful industry captains and C-suite executives on practical steps, strategies, and skills to help members make progress and advancement in their careers. The A-League of Young Professionals. Stay connected, be empowered, and rise to the top. Thank you and welcome back from the break. I'm sure you are enjoying this conversation. It's an exciting conversation, and I must admit that we've had lots of emails and comments on our page, in our inbox, about the issue of difficult bosses. Now let's look at how you can handle a difficult boss. Very, very important. How do you handle a difficult boss? The first thing I'll talk about is that you need to make an effort to have a meeting with that boss. I know you're asking yourself, John, are you kidding me? This is somebody I try to avoid with every ounce of strength that I have. Why should I have a meeting with that boss? It is important because, you see, for every job or business that you do, your level of productivity will be measured. And always bear in mind that whoever your boss is, your boss has a boss. So your boss will send a report of your performance to his or her boss, who will then review your performance, and therefore whether or not you stay at the workplace or you'll be fired as a result of not performing and all that, it will come as a result or a recommendation from your direct supervisor. So in the case where a direct supervisor is difficult, the most important thing for me is that you need to make time and seek for an opportunity to have a one-on-one engagement with the person, obviously or most likely in the person's office or in a place where you are comfortable and you are sure that it is not going to escalate into anything that would cost you your job. So seek for a meeting with the boss. So what are you going to talk to the boss about? What discussion are you going to have? Obviously, you're going to look at your key performing indicators, your objectives, and the goals for which you were employed. If it's going to be difficult to have that one-on-one meeting, I know that in proper functioning organization, every quarter there's an appraisal meeting where you meet with your supervisor or your boss to discuss your performance. I think that that's a very good platform for you to agree with your boss as to what your key performance indicators are, what your goals are, and what your objectives are. It is very, very important, because if you don't mutually agree on these things, then you leave a lot of room for your boss to unduly manipulate your performance. So that is very important. The second thing I'll ask you to do is that anytime you have a meeting with your boss, make sure there's a written record of that meeting. It is important because most of the time, difficult bosses will deny and move heaven and earth to prove that they have not said anything to you or made any comment or remark that may not inure to your benefit. So anytime he calls or she calls for a meeting or go into that meeting, don't go empty-handed. Go with your notebook or notepad and take down notes. When the person gives instruction, we want 10 bottles of water a day, write it down, 10 bottles of water a day. So that at the end of the day, if it comes back to say that I never said 10, I said 100, or I said 70, then you have enough evidence to show. So please keep a detailed written record of the interactions and the engagements you have with your boss. Any meeting you go into with your boss or where your difficult boss is a part of, please make sure that you are recording the minutes of the meeting. That is very important. The other thing you need to understand is that where there are issues of harassment, you have every right to report to your HR director. Whether your boss is abusing you verbally, insulting you, using all manner of unprintable invectives against you, or even physically abusing you. I know there are some bosses that are so difficult to the point that sometimes they may attempt to even hit you as a result of them trying to exert their influence, or throw things at you, or even get to the point where they will actually have fisticuffs with you or fight with you. When you have such a boss, you have every right to report the boss to the HR director. If your boss is sexually abusing you, saying words that makes you very uncomfortable, making advances at you and all manner of things, harassing you with phone calls and text messages and WhatsApp video calls late into the night, and all manner of things that makes you uncomfortable, you have every right to report to your HR director. In very extreme cases, you can actually make it an issue beyond the work. It can actually be a criminal or a police offense or something like that. But most of the time, it doesn't get to that dimension or that level. The most important thing for me is that when you are faced with a boss that harasses you physically, emotionally, or sexually, you need to make a formal complaint or report to your head of HR or the topmost executive that you can get to. That is important. The other thing you need to do is that in the midst of all that, or in the midst of the up and down and the bashing from the superior or the difficult boss, you need to be professional at all times. What it means is that you should always ensure you keep your cool, always ensure you keep your emotional balance, always ensure that you don't blow up or flare up that would eventually cost you your job. We admit that it's difficult to get a job. And if you are somebody that is emotionally turned on simply by people's actions and people's reactions, and then if you have a difficult boss, almost every day will be an emotional volcano for you. So you need to be very measured and professional. Keep in mind, no matter how agitated or angry you are, never hit your boss, never insult your boss, or never pick up something to strike the person dead. You need to control your emotions. You need to remain very professional. It is very important because at the end of the day, that difficult boss can be fired, but if you don't conduct yourself well and you're the one that is at the losing end, it may be difficult to get your job. So in as much as you are firm and you are resolute, please be as professional as possible. That is very important. You also need to keep records of your own accomplishments because remember I said that sometimes difficult bosses will undermine your achievements and water down what it is you've been able to do for yourself or do for the business or the organization. So anytime you're going for an appraisal meeting, make sure you have written evidence of your accomplishments. There are even times that you may have an email from a client or from a customer praising you for the work you have done or making a recommendation of what it is that you have done. Please archive all these things, and when it is time for your appraisal, you can surely show it up at the appraisal as proof of your accomplishment. I remember I used to have a boss who was very difficult, and anytime I went to the appraisal, he was always trying to undermine what it is that I had achieved and was even questioning what it is that I've achieved. But one thing I learned to do was that before any appraisal meeting, I put together my evidence, I gather all my evidences, be it text messages of job well done, be it emails of job well done, be it evidence of me accomplishing and receiving a certificate or accreditation for what it is that I had done. I gather all these evidences, and when I go into that appraisal meeting, I have something to show for my accomplishment. So if you are dealing with a difficult boss, please don't just dismiss emails you get from people who are praising what you have done or acknowledging the good that you do. So always bear in mind, keep a written record of your accomplishment so that anytime you're in an appraisal meeting, you can use that as a basis for your engagement or your discussion. So even if you're unduly influenced or you are unduly pushed to resign or leave your workplace, your work will always speak for you. That is also very important. The last thing I'll ask you to do is that get advice, because you see every situation and how you handle it. In instances where in your particular terrain or industry, you need industry specific advice as to how best to handle a difficult boss, don't hesitate at all to ask for help, because when you ask for help, you will definitely get that kind of help. The other thing I'll talk about is that if you know you have a difficult boss, one of the things you need to do is, by virtue of experience, learn to be proactive. Learn to be able to get ahead of the game. Even before it comes in to complain about the way your desk has been put or the way this has been done, you have preempted it and you have corrected it, or you have done something about it. So proactivity is obviously one of the keys you can use whenever you're handling a difficult boss. The other thing too is that if you are working with a difficult boss, you always need to ensure your game is on point. Because when you're always doing the right thing and you're achieving your targets and your productivity is high and your efficiency is high, just a single person is unable to bring you down. So please keep this thing in mind. The final thing I'll talk about today is, at what point do you give up? At what point should you quit your job? At what point should you resign? At what point should you move on? These are some few indicators that may help. Number one, when you realize that the level of stress is just unbearable and unreasonable, don't continue to stay there and develop high blood pressure and develop heart attack and die. When you realize that it is unreasonable and you can no longer bear it, I think that that's the point where you need to exit. The other thing too is that when you realize that in spite of the complaints you made to your HR director and your superiors, nothing changes and they all seem to condone and support what the person is doing, especially where there's physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse, you need to exit that organization or that business. The other thing too is that when you realize that the relationship with your boss is damaged beyond repairs, if you see him, you are angry. When he sees you, he's angry. He's actually excluding you from meetings that you're supposed to be part of, all because of that broken, unrepairable relationship you have with your boss. Then the next thing you need to consider is either to leave the organization or seek for leave to work with another department or another branch of the business. We'll end the discussion here today and encourage you to send in your questions and your comments and to share your experiences with us. We'll be more than happy to respond to your questions and to be of great support to you as you manage your way through dealing with a difficult boss. See you on our next episode.